The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees as I walked a familiar trail, escaping the pressures of my job. But what began as a peaceful hike quickly turned into something far more sinister. Deep in the woods, a strange, nauseating smell stopped me in my tracks. And when I followed it, I found something I'll never forget. Imagine you're just out for a walk, looking to clear your head. Then suddenly, everything you thought was normal crumbles in an instant. Would you turn back or dive deeper? What I discovered that day changed everything, more than I ever could have expected. Stay with me, because what happens next might make you question everything too. The sun was just beginning to set as I made my way along the familiar trail that wound through the dense woods of New Jersey. Each step felt like a release from the pressures of my graphic design job in the city, where deadlines and client demands seemed to gnaw at my sanity. Hiking was my therapy, a chance to breathe in the crisp air and escape into the embrace of nature. I could hear the faint rustle of leaves overhead and the occasional call of a bird, a soothing symphony that accompanied my every move. Just me and the trees, I muttered to myself, a smile creeping onto my face. I paused to take a sip from my water bottle, feeling the cool liquid refresh my body. The sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting dappled shadows on the ground, and for a moment, I felt like I was in a world untouched by time. As I ventured deeper into the woods, I lost myself in thoughts of upcoming projects and deadlines. I loved designing, but the constant hustle made me crave these moments of solitude. Suddenly, a strange smell pierced through my reverie, a metallic, pungent odor that made my stomach churn. I frowned, trying to dismiss it as something harmless, but curiosity gnawed at me. "What the hell is that?" I whispered to myself, glancing around. I took a hesitant step forward, the scent growing stronger and more nauseating. Against my better judgment, I followed the odor, feeling the excitement and dread mix in my chest. Was it blood? My heart raced as I pushed aside branches, moving further into the underbrush. Before long, I stumbled upon a secluded clearing, the trees parting to reveal a small, open space. My breath caught in my throat as I took in the scene. There, partially buried beneath a thin layer of leaves and dirt, was something that made my skin crawl. I knelt down, my hands trembling as I brushed away the foliage, revealing what I dreaded most, a decaying body. "No, no, no," I whispered, the words barely escaping my lips. My heart pounded in my chest, thrumming like a war drum as I tried to comprehend the horror before me. The face was unrecognizable, a grotesque mask of decay, but the implications hit me like a freight train. Panic surged through me, and I stumbled back, nearly losing my footing. "What have I found?" I gasped, feeling the weight of the discovery settle on my shoulders like a heavy shroud. It was as if the very ground beneath me had shifted, and I was no longer standing in the peaceful woods I had sought refuge in, but in a nightmare that had just begun to unravel. I forced myself to take a breath, my mind racing. This couldn't be happening. I had come here to escape, not to uncover a dark secret buried beneath the leaves. As I sat back on my heels, my thoughts turned to the people I loved, my friends, my family. What if this was connected to something bigger? What if the truth behind this body was tangled with the lives of those I cared about? "Alex," I heard a voice call from a distance, breaking me from my thoughts. My best friend Mark often hiked these woods with me, but today he hadn't joined. I glanced around, heart racing. "Where are you, man?" "I'm here," I shouted back, panic lacing my voice. I scrambled to my feet, glancing one last time at the horrific sight before me. I couldn't leave it like this, but I also couldn't stay. I needed help. I needed answers. Mark emerged from the trees, his face lighting up with concern as he caught sight of me. "What's wrong?" "You look like you've seen a ghost," he exclaimed, his eyes darting nervously toward the clearing behind me. "Mark," I began, my voice shaky as I pointed to the spot where the body lay. "You need to see this." The chill of the evening air clung to me as I raced home, heart pounding, my mind a whirlwind of horror and disbelief. The image of that lifeless body haunted my every step, the whisper of leaves and the rustle of branches echoing my dread. I burst through the door, slamming it behind me, as if to shut out the reality I had just uncovered. "Alex, is everything okay?" Mark's voice came from the living room, laced with concern. He had come over unannounced, likely to catch up or share a drink, completely unaware of the nightmare I had just stumbled into. I found him sprawled on the couch, laptop open, a half-eaten pizza resting by his side. He looked up, confusion etched on his face as I stood there, breathless and pale. "Mark, you've got to listen to me," I gasped, taking a seat across from him. "I found something in the woods. It's bad." He sat up straight, concern deepening. "What do you mean? Are you hurt?" "No, I'm fine." I shook my head, trying to gather my thoughts. "I found a body, a dead body, buried in a clearing." "What?" Mark's eyes widened, disbelief washing over him. "Are you serious? You can't be." "I'm serious. I wouldn't joke about this." I rubbed my temples, the reality of the situation crashing down on me. "I don't know who it is, but I need to tell someone. We need to call the police." Mark's expression shifted to one of urgency. "Absolutely. You have to report this. It's not something you can just ignore. Lives could depend on it." "Do you think it could be connected to Emily?" I blurted out, the name tumbling from my lips like a curse. Emily's disappearance had haunted our town for a decade, a shadow that loomed over us all. "God, I hope not." Mark's brow furrowed. "But we can't rule anything out. Let's go to the station together." As we drove through the dimly lit streets toward the police station, the weight of dread settled in my stomach. The familiar landmarks of our town felt foreign, each shadow a reminder of what I had uncovered. The police station was surprisingly quiet when we arrived. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. Mark walked beside me, offering silent support as we approached the front desk. "Can I help you?" the officer at the desk asked, glancing up from his paperwork. "I need to report a discovery," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I found a body in the woods." The officer raised an eyebrow, skepticism creeping into his expression. "A body? Are you sure it's not just a prank or something?" "No, I swear, it's real," I insisted. "I can show you where it is." "All right, let's take this seriously." He stood, motioning for another officer to join him. "I'll need you to come with us." As we walked through the station, I felt my heart race. The walls were lined with photos and posters of missing persons, including Emily's. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that this was more than just a simple discovery. When we reached the back of the station, Detective Sarah Collins was waiting for us. She had a reputation for her relentless pursuit of justice, especially regarding cold cases. Her sharp eyes assessed me, and I could see the flicker of recognition when I mentioned Emily. "Alex, right?" she said, her voice steady but with an edge of urgency. "I've been following the Emily case closely. You said you found a body?" "Yes, in the woods," I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "I think it might be her." Sarah's expression turned serious as she took out her notebook. "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." I recounted the details, my voice shaking as I described the clearing and the horrific sight that had met my eyes. As I spoke, I watched Sarah's face closely, looking for any sign of what she was feeling. When I finished, she nodded slowly, her gaze intense. "If this is Emily, it will change everything for this town. We've been waiting for answers for far too long." The weight of her words hung in the air, and I felt the gravity of the situation settle over me like a thick fog. I had stumbled into something much larger than myself, and I wasn't sure I was ready for the consequences. As we left the station, the first flashes of camera lights greeted us. News crews had caught wind of the discovery, and chaos erupted. I felt my stomach twist at the thought of being thrust into the spotlight, the scrutiny of the town weighing heavily on my shoulders. "Alex," a reporter shouted, shoving a microphone in my direction. "Can you tell us what you found?" I recoiled, the noise overwhelming. I just want to know what happened to Emily," I stammered, and then stepped back as Mark pulled me away from the cameras. "Let's get out of here," he said, concern etched on his face. "This is just the beginning, Alex. We need to prepare for what's coming." As we drove away, I stared out the window, the world outside a blur. I had opened a door I couldn't close, and now there was no turning back. The past was about to crash into the present, and I could only hope I was ready for the storm. The air felt thick with tension as I navigated the narrow streets of our small town. The memories of the discovery still swirling in my mind like the autumn leaves caught in the wind. Each step I took felt heavier, as if the very ground beneath me was laden with secrets I had unearthed. I could feel the eyes of the townsfolk on me, whispers trailing behind me like shadows. I had become a pariah in my own community, and it gnawed at me. I reached home, the familiar warmth of my small apartment offering little solace. Mia was waiting for me, her brow furrowed with concern. "Alex, we need to talk. You look different," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I dropped my backpack by the door and sank into the couch. "I found a body, Mia," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "And now it feels like the whole town is crumbling around me. I can't just walk away from this." "Maybe you should," she countered, her tone shifting to one of urgency. "You don't understand what you're getting into. This is dangerous." "Dangerous? You mean what they might do to me? I can't ignore this, those threats." "Threats?" Her eyes widened in disbelief. "What threats?" I hesitated, the weight of my fear pressing down on me. "I've been getting anonymous notes. They're warning me to stop digging. One even said I'd regret it." Mia's face paled, and she sat down beside me, taking my hand in hers. "Alex, please. Some truths are better left buried. You don't know who's behind those notes. It could be anyone from the town. What if it's someone you know?" "Exactly. What if it is someone I know? I need to find out who did this to her, and I need your support, not your fear." She recoiled slightly, withdrawing her hand as if I'd struck her. "I'm scared for you. You're talking about digging into a past that people want to forget. Do you really want to open old wounds?" "Old wounds?" I echoed, frustration boiling within me. "This is more than just old wounds, Mia. This is about justice. Emily deserves that much." Mia took a deep breath, her gaze drifting toward the window, as if searching for answers in the shadows outside. "What if uncovering the truth puts you in even more danger? What if it leads you to someone who won't hesitate to hurt you?" I stood up, pacing back and forth. I can't just stand by and do nothing. I need to know what happened. I owe her that much. "Do you even know what you're asking for?" She shot back, her voice rising. "This isn't just about you anymore. This is about everyone in this town who has been affected by Emily's disappearance. You're stirring up a hornet's nest." I stopped, the fire in my chest extinguished by the weight of her words. "I know the risks, but I can't turn away. What if this leads to someone else? What if there's more to this story?" Mia's expression softened, but the worry lingered in her eyes. "Then let's be careful. Let's find a way to uncover the truth without putting you in harm's way." "I don't know," Mark replied, his gaze fixed on the floor. "But we need to try." The thought of confronting Jason churned my stomach. I recalled the last time I'd seen him, his laughter echoing through the party, a stark contrast to the somber reality we faced now. He was one of the last people to see Emily alive. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. After finishing our coffee, Mark and I made our way to Jason's apartment. The sun began to set, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch ominously across the street. As we approached his door, I felt a sense of dread creeping in. What if he didn't want to talk? What if he did? Mark knocked, the sound sharp against the quiet of the evening. A few moments later, the door creaked open, revealing Jason. His hair was disheveled, and he wore a wrinkled t-shirt, as if he had just rolled out of bed. His eyes widened in surprise. "Alex? Mark? What are you doing here?" "We need to talk about Emily," I said, my voice firm despite my nerves. Jason's expression shifted, a flicker of something, fear, guilt, crossing his face. "I don't think there's much to say. It was a long time ago. Maybe, but we found something that might change that," Mark interjected, holding up the journal. "We need to know what happened that night." Jason's demeanor shifted again, his posture tensing. "You shouldn't be digging up the past. It's better left alone." I felt a surge of anger. Better for whom? For you? For the rest of us? Emily deserves justice, Jason. He stepped back, glancing over his shoulder as if assessing an escape route. "Look, I don't know what you think you found, but you're getting into dangerous territory. You don't know what you're dealing with." "What do you mean by that?" I pressed, my heart pounding. "What are you hiding?" Jason's eyes darted around the room, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the boy I once knew, buried beneath layers of fear and something darker. "You don't understand. Things aren't what they seem. You think you want the truth, but you really don't." "What's that supposed to mean?" I demanded, feeling a rush of frustration and fear. My hands clenched into fists as I struggled to keep my composure. He inhaled deeply, his gaze dropping to the floor. "Just Just let it go. You're better off. Let it go? Emily is dead and we're still supposed to just move on? Mark's voice rose, matching my intensity. You were her friend, Jason. You owe it to her to tell us the truth. Jason's jaw clenched, and I could see the internal battle raging within him. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally, he took a step forward, his voice low and urgent. You need to stop this now. You have no idea who you're messing with. As those words hung in the air, a chill ran down my spine. Something wasn't right, and I could feel the walls closing in. Jason's erratic behavior only deepened my suspicions. I don't know, Mark replied, his gaze fixed on the floor. But we need to try. The thought of confronting Jason churned my stomach. I recalled the last time I'd seen him, his laughter echoing through the party, a stark contrast to the somber reality we faced now. He was one of the last people to see Emily alive. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. After finishing our coffee, Mark and I made our way to Jason's apartment. The sun began to set, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch ominously across the street. As we approached his door, I felt a sense of dread creeping in. What if he didn't want to talk? What if he did? Mark knocked, the sound sharp against the quiet of the evening. A few moments later, the door creaked open, revealing Jason. His hair was disheveled, and he wore a wrinkled t-shirt, as if he had just rolled out of bed. His eyes widened in surprise. Alex? Mark? What are you doing here? We need to talk about Emily, I said, my voice firm despite my nerves. Jason's expression shifted, a flicker of something, fear, guilt, crossing his face. I don't think there's much to say. It was a long time ago. Maybe, but we found something that might change that. Mark interjected, holding up the journal. We need to know what happened that night. Jason's demeanor shifted again, his posture tensing. You shouldn't be digging up the past. It's better left alone. I felt a surge of anger. Better for whom? For you? For the rest of us? Emily deserves justice, Jason. He stepped back, glancing over his shoulder as if assessing an escape route. Look, I don't know what you think you found, but you're getting into dangerous territory. You don't know what you're dealing with. What do you mean by that? I pressed, my heart pounding. What are you hiding? Jason's eyes darted around the room, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the boy I once knew, buried beneath layers of fear and something darker. You don't understand. Things aren't what they seem. You think you want the truth, but you really don't. What's that supposed to mean? I demanded, feeling a rush of frustration and fear. My hands clenched into fists as I struggled to keep my composure. He inhaled deeply, his gaze dropping to the floor. Just let it go. You're better off. Let it go? Emily is dead, and we're still supposed to just move on? Mark's voice rose, matching my intensity. You were her friend, Jason. You owe it to her to tell us the truth. Jason's jaw clenched, and I could see the internal battle raging within him. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally, he took a step forward, his voice low and urgent. You need to stop this now. You have no idea who you're messing with. As those words hung in the air, a chill ran down my spine. Something wasn't right, and I could feel the walls closing in. Jason's erratic behavior only deepened my suspicions. What secrets lay buried beneath the surface of our seemingly innocent past, and how far was I willing to go to uncover them? The shadows in my mind were growing darker, haunted by the images of Emily's lifeless body and the secrets buried alongside her. I tossed and turned in bed, the weight of the discovery pressing down on my chest like a boulder. Each time I closed my eyes, her face emerged, twisted in a silent plea for justice. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was drowning in a sea of lies, and the only way to stay afloat was to confront Mia. I found her in the living room, scrolling through her phone, the glow illuminating her worried expression. It took every ounce of courage within me to break the silence. Mia, we need to talk, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked up, her brow furrowing. About what? You seem tense. About Emily, about everything. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. You've been acting weird since I found her. There's something you're not telling me. Her eyes widened, but she quickly masked her reaction. Alex, just tell me. I snapped, frustration spilling over. You've been cryptic about your warnings. What do you know? Mia hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her shirt. Okay, just sit down. She took a moment, gathering her thoughts. I knew Emily. We were friends in high school, but it was complicated. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Complicated? How? We had a falling out before she disappeared. I didn't know she was in trouble. I didn't know anything. Her voice trembled, and I could see the guilt etched on her face. I didn't come back to town after it happened. I thought it was safer for everyone. Safer? I scoffed, my anger flaring. You think running away makes things safer? People are still suffering, Mia. Can't you see that? She stood, pacing the small space between us. I was scared. I thought if I stayed away, I could forget. But then you found her, and everything came rushing back. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to drag you into it. Drag me into what? You're already in it. I felt the walls closing in, as if the very air around us was thick with tension. What else don't I know? Mia's gaze dropped, as if the weight of her secrets was too much to bear. There were rumors, things we did, things we saw. I didn't believe them, but I've always wondered if something more sinister was at play. Rumors? What kind of rumors? My heart raced, my instincts screaming that I was on the edge of something monumental. She hesitated again. There was talk of a secret society, a group that... Wait, what? I interrupted, my mind racing. A secret society? This is starting to sound like a bad movie. Listen to me, Alex. Her eyes locked onto mine, desperate and pleading. People went missing around the same time as Emily. It was all connected. I didn't think it could be real. I thought it was just gossip. I could feel my pulse quickening as I processed her words. You mean to tell me that there's a possibility this was not just a random act? That there's a pattern? Yes, she exclaimed, throwing her hands up in frustration. But the more I think about it, the more I wonder if we were part of it, if we knew something and just dismissed it. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I felt betrayed and hurt. I thought we were in this together. I was trying to protect you. She shouted, her voice breaking. I didn't want you to get mixed up in something so dark. I thought if I kept quiet, you would stay safe. Safe? I echoed, incredulous. You think I'm safe now? I'm in the middle of this mess, and I don't even know who I can trust anymore. As I spoke, a chill ran through me. I remembered the note I found earlier that day. Mia, I got a threat. Someone wants me to stop looking into this. Her face paled, and she stepped back as if my words had physically struck her. What do you mean? A note on my doorstep. It said to stop or face consequences. My voice was hoarse now, the reality of my situation sinking in like a stone in my gut. Mia's gaze softened, filled with concern. We have to go to the police. This is getting out of hand. But I felt a surge of defiance. No, I won't let fear dictate my actions. I need to know the truth no matter the cost. Mia looked at me, torn between fear and determination. But Alex, it could be dangerous. We don't know who we're dealing with. I don't care, I replied, my resolve hardening. I owe it to Emily. I owe it to everyone who suffered. I can't just walk away. As I stepped outside, the air felt electric, thick with the weight of unsaid words and hidden truths. I was determined to uncover everything, even if it meant facing the darkest corners of my own life. I paced back and forth in my small apartment, the weight of suspicion pressing down on my chest like a lead block. Mark had been my closest friend for years, but now, doubt gnawed at me. Was he truly innocent in this web of deceit that had ensnared us all? I needed answers, and I needed them now. I pulled out my phone and dialed his number, my heart racing as the line rang. Alex? Mark's voice came through, tinged with confusion. What's up? I need to see you, now. I couldn't hide the urgency in my tone. Okay, I'll be right over, he replied, and I hung up, feeling a mix of dread and determination. When Mark arrived, I wasted no time. Did you know anything about that tape from the party? I shot straight to the point, scanning his face for any hint of guilt. He looked taken aback. What tape? What are you talking about? The tape that might have recorded what happened to Emily. You must know something, Mark. Don't play games with me. My voice cracked, the frustration bubbling to the surface. He hesitated and I caught a flicker of something in his eyes. Fear? Guilt? It was hard to tell. Okay, I've heard rumors about it, but I didn't think it was real. It was just some stupid footage from the party. Where is it? I pressed. I think it's at Jason's place. He had a friend who was into filming everything back then. They probably still have it. Mark's voice faltered, and he looked away, as if he couldn't bear to meet my gaze. "Let's go," I said, grabbing my jacket. The knot in my stomach tightened. I didn't want to believe that Mark had any involvement, but the stakes were too high, and I was running out of time. We drove in silence, the tension palpable. My mind raced with possibilities and doubts. What if Mark was hiding more than he let on? What if he and Jason were part of something bigger? I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts as we pulled up to Jason's house. The place looked untouched, like a ghost of the past. I felt a shiver run down my spine as we approached the door. Mark knocked hesitantly, and after a few moments, Jason opened the door, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Look who it is. What do you want?" he asked, his tone flippant. "Is the tape from the party still here?" I demanded, cutting straight to the chase. Jason's expression shifted, and for a brief moment, I saw something akin to fear. "Why do you want that?" "Just show us," Mark insisted, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Fine, it's in the back room," Jason said reluctantly, stepping aside. As we followed him inside, I could feel the air thick with unspoken secrets. Once in the dimly lit room, Jason rummaged through a box filled with old VHS tapes. "Here it is," he said, holding it up triumphantly. "But I don't think you want to watch it. It's just a bunch of idiots at a party." "Let us decide," I snapped, taking the tape from him. "We need to see it." I hurried back to my apartment, Mark following closely behind. I could feel the weight of the moment hanging in the air as I inserted the tape into my old VCR. The screen flickered to life, revealing blurry images of the party, laughter, and the carefree faces of friends long since changed by the shadows of the past. As I fast-forwarded through the mundane moments, my heart raced. Then, I hit play when I saw Emily enter the frame. She looked vibrant, but I could see the tension in her posture. My breath caught in my throat as the camera panned to Mia, who was standing nearby, her expression unreadable. Suddenly, the footage captured an argument between Mia and Emily. "You don't understand, Mia. You can't keep this a secret forever." Emily's voice was filled with desperation. "Just drop it, Emily. You're gonna ruin everything." Mia shot back, her tone cold and threatening. The realization crashed over me like a wave. "Mia, what did you do?" I whispered, feeling the ground beneath me shift. The tape continued, revealing more shocking interactions that implicated not only Jason but also Mia. My heart raced as I processed the implications. "Mia was involved somehow," I said breathlessly, turning to Mark. "She was arguing with Emily. She knew something." Mark's face paled. "I didn't think she'd go that far. I thought she was just scared." "Scared of what? What was she hiding?" I could feel bile rising in my throat as the pieces began to fit together in horrifying clarity. Just when I thought I was piecing it all together, the final revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just about a secret. Mia had orchestrated a cover-up to protect her own interests. The horror of it all sunk deep into my bones, and I realized that the true terror lay not in the woods, but in the very fabric of my life. I felt a mix of betrayal and disbelief as I faced the woman I loved, knowing that the path to uncovering the truth had only begun, and it was leading straight into the darkness of our past.